What are you thankful for on day 4 of 30 Days of Thanks? And what about that friend that says, love the one you're with? It was a beautiful sunny spring day in the spring of 1962 in Orlando, Florida. I was taking the walk with my friend Raymond from St. James School to Pine Street and Orange Avenue, a little less than 2 miles, and we had the opportunity to go around Lake Eola. It was a walk we took 5 days a week together. It was a wonderful walk. Raymond was a little bit odd. People didn't pay much attention to him. He was kind of a loner. I seemed to be his only friend, and I really liked my friend Raymond. He was kind of larger than me for sure, heavier. He walked pretty fast, and he had this big book bag that hung down by his side, and he walked with his head out like this. He had buck teeth, and he'd walk. And as we'd walk, he'd talk, and we talked about some amazing things. He had a lot of outdoor information, a lot of that hunting instinct, that country type of attitude. And he knew all the ducks that were in Lake Eola, which ones they were, what their personalities were like in terms of what they ate, and what was important to that particular duck style. And he seemed to know a lot about just about everything that had to do with nature. And he also liked to talk about his bow and arrow, because he had this bow that had a lot of pull to it. And we looked out at the beautiful Centennial Fountain that was there in Lake Eola with the colors coming out and the spouts. And oh, it's just a beautiful fountain. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's just absolutely tremendous. And Raymond would talk about, if you had the right bow, you could take it at the right arch and pull and shoot all the way to that fountain. And I was amazed because I like to play with my bow and arrow. And I just had one that was kind of cheap that I had gotten for Christmas. It was good for me, and I had a lot of fun with it, but Raymond had the real thing. And so that's how our friendship formed. It was a friendship built out of respect, and it was a friendship that I could depend on and he could depend on, and we were happy. It was about 28 AD in Jerusalem on King Herod's birthday, and in front of him was the head of John the Baptist on a platter. Yes, John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin. Herod had no intention of killing John the Baptist, although he wanted to. He had him imprisoned because Herod had an affair with his brother Philip's wife, and she was living with him. And on his birthday, she connived a plan. She got her daughter to get all dolled up and dance for King Herod. And when she did, King Herod was very impressed. And he said, I will give you anything. Just ask for it. I give you my oath. And her mother had put her up to it and said, I want the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And yet, even in death, John the Baptist kept his disciples, and they came and they got his body. And like true friends, they did what a true friend could do, and they buried Jesus' cousin. It was a beautiful spring day in Orlando in 1962 as we were walking around Lake Eola, my friend Raymond Smith and I. And today he was especially happy because he had a treat in his mind. As we walked around the Lake Eola, and then headed up to Pine Street in Orange, where the buses would pull in, we had about an hour to spend. And so Raymond and I went inside the soda fountain, and he put out his hand and pulled out a dollar bill and called the lady over and said, 2 banana splits, please. That was a lot of money in those days. I mean, you could get a hamburger, a small one, for 15 cents. You could buy a bag of groceries for $2. And Raymond pulled out that dollar and got his best friend a banana split. We sat there next to each other as the splits came to us. We looked inside each other's eyes and thought, doesn't get any better than this. Sitting at the soda fountain downtown Orlando, Florida at the corner of Pine and Orange, eating a banana split. Jesus was far away north in Galilee when he got the news that his cousin John the Baptist had been killed. The disciples came and told him, and Jesus wanted to get away by himself to a deserted place, and he took a boat. The multitude, when they learned that Jesus was in a deserted place, left their cities and walked and found him and traveled by foot a long distance to get to him, and they found him. And Jesus addressed 5,000 people when he saw them and had compassion on these people. And he began to heal their sick, even though his cousin had just died. And he healed the sick all the way into evening. And his disciples came and said, we must send these people away so they can eat. And Jesus said, you feed them. And they said, but we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And there's 5,000 people. And Jesus said, bring me what you have. And they brought the fish and the loaves of bread. And they fed all 5,000 people with food left over. Because when Jesus says that there's enough, it's not just enough, but Jesus has more than enough for his friends.